Hey, all, how's it going? All right, so let's go ahead get this party started. So, don't be bitter. Something that I've been hearing a lot of women saying to guys who are coming out about their uh, issues with the dating world and that sort of thing. And I mean, it's always either preceded or it's either proceeding something like not all women are like that, or don't let a couple bad experiences ruin your view on women, and so on and so forth, yada yada yada, all the way down the fucking line. Well, the thing is my question that has yet to be answered is why? Honestly, why? Why shouldn't someone who's had bad experience after bad experience after bad experience, had setback after setback after setback in their life, based on one common thread, not look at that common thread and go, yeah, I need to cut that? I really want to know. Um, and don't get me wrong, it's not one of those things of if you ever have a bad experience with something once, don't ever fucking do it again. There is some nuance to be had there. There is. But, people tell me not to be bitter. I'll make this personal. All right. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to open up to you guys right here. Let's go ahead and see what I shouldn't be bitter about, according to these people anyway. My first official girlfriend constantly demeaned me, constantly constantly compared me to fictional characters, and legit compared me to them. um, Told me how, actively told me how if a better guy came along, she would go after him in a heartbeat. Um, uh, Anytime I had any level of fault whatsoever, she'd broadcast it to the fucking world. That was my first experience. All right, fair enough. You know what? Somewhat younger, uh, maybe she was just fucking stupid, whatever. I was definitely stupid for getting with her. But that's no reason for me to be bitter, right? So then I go ahead, my second girlfriend, long distance relationship this time. Ended up getting engaged to her. Went out to see her, all that sort of thing. And then a few weeks after I go out to see her, I learned that she hawked the ring to get the money to fly out another guy so she could cheat on me. But I shouldn't be bitter. So let's go ahead and go with my next girlfriend. She allowed her parents to manipulate her into cheating on me because her dad didn't like me. Well, the guy that they literally hired to seduce her, a guy that had no interest in her, their sole purpose was to go ahead and stop our relationship because her dad didn't like me because I wasn't willing to bow to him. Well, the guy that they ended up getting, well, he had HIV. She's dead now because she already didn't have the best immune system to begin with. But the thing is she allowed herself to be manipulated in that way. She was the one who ultimately made the choice to cheat. but I shouldn't be bitter. And the thing is I did love that girl. I did. From the bottom of my heart. There was nothing I wouldn't have done for her. She's one of the few girlfriends that I had that to this day, I still feel that way. So let's go on to the next girlfriend. The next girlfriend wasn't all that long ago in the grand scheme of things. But the thing is the last girlfriend, or not the last girlfriend, but the next girlfriend in the line, me and her didn't date all that long. But the thing is we ended up doing the somewhat open relationship, but she wanted a one-sided open relationship, and not in the way that you guys are thinking. She wanted me to be able to go out and search for other women. Well, I ended up making a mistake at that point. And so that really fucking sucked. Oh, wait, no, there was one girlfriend before her, a cougar. I was actually a cub. I almost always forget about this one. But with her, she was in the middle of getting a divorce from her husband. It was all but finalized. She ended up introducing me to her kids. Her kids absolutely loved me and respected me. Whenever I said something, they fucking listened. She noted that her kids listened better to me than they did to her. She had two daughters. But she ended up cheating on me and getting involved in drugs. And I came to learn that she was a chronic alcoholic, which I was not made aware of beforehand. So then we go to the one where we didn't date too long, one-sided open relationship, whatever. I don't have a reason to be bitter against the one with the one-sided relationship, but that cougar, every fucking reason to be bitter. Because she didn't just hurt me, she hurt her own kids. She used her own kids to get me to spend more money on her, to cover more of her costs. I bought gifts for her kids on their birthdays. I basically funded their birthday parties, and they weren't cheap. But then I ended up getting with my ex. The open relationship chick stepped aside like she said she would. But we were still going to remain friends because we actually got along. Well, my ex didn't want anything to do with that. But then a few months afterward, I learned that her brother is living with his wife, whose ex is still living in the house with them. Well, y'all know how my ex, because this is the one that I have a daughter with, all know how that song and dance went. I've been pretty upfront about that. I've directly addressed it. But then the next girlfriend after that, yeah, I hadn't quite learned my lesson yet. Next girlfriend after that, me and her, we were exceedingly sexually active. But the thing is she was one of those ones that was skittish about any level of commitment. She was skittish about a damn label. So what ended up happening? She ended up getting involved in drugs, and then she ended up cheating on me. The vast majority of women that I have been with, I have been dedicated to. They've always said that I'm a good guy. Except for my ex, obviously, who has to sit there and say that I'm a bad guy, because if she doesn't say that I'm a bad guy, then she can't get the victim points. And she then goes ahead and and puts the monopoly of the situation at jeopardy. But all of them have said that I'm a good guy, that I'm too nice. Well, here's the thing. When you're constantly told that you're too nice, you tend to get bitter. When you tend to get fucked over, especially emotionally, when your emotions are constantly torn to ribbons, you're going to get bitter. So when these people say you shouldn't be bitter, what they're really saying is your experience doesn't matter. Take one for the team. It's your duty. That's what don't be bitter stands for in this context. So when I hear people saying that MGTOWs shouldn't be bitter, I look at the stories of these MGTOW, where they come from. And I have to ask myself, how could you expect them to not be bitter? If they weren't bitter, it would be an absolute miracle. And I'm meaning that in the most literal sense. I'm talking about miracle ordained by God, because that's the only way that that would make any level of sense. But this is the thing. If I sit there and I tell what my experiences with dating have been to someone, somehow they always try to look to make me to be the bad guy. How dare you be upset that these women used you for your resources and then moved on to another guy? Or how dare you be upset that these women treated you like absolute shit? How dare you speak out against the overlord? Honestly, these people should never utter the words, don't be bitter. They should just cut to the chase and just skip to, how dare you? Hey, Red, Alexander, please keep other channel drama on the other channels, guys. But it's gotten to the point now where people will go ahead and use the don't be bitter as a defense against arguments, as a defense against the lived experiences of people. You constantly hear the left talking about, oh, people are denying other people's lived experiences. Very rarely do I see an outright denial of other people's lived experiences, except when it comes to men. That's when I see the denial of the lived experiences. That's when I see the excuses being made. It's funny, they sit there and say, listen and believe. But what they fail to mention is there's a little hidden caveat there. It's listen and believe as long as they don't have a penis, or as long as they're not part of a protected group. You know, if they're not part of a protected group, you don't have to listen and believe. In fact, you listen and mock at that point, regardless of the circumstance. But in all reason, I mean, in all honesty, I have every reason uh, to be bitter. I try my best not to be. I do. I try to remain fair. But as I've said in other streams, I'm not perfect. And yeah, there are times where that bitterness comes out, where it comes to the surface. But the thing is I have to repress that bitterness. It can't ever get solved. Because if I go ahead and speak about it, and at any place other than here on my own channel, I get shamed for it. I get told that I'm somehow being immature, that I'm somehow being childish and petty by being bitter about my past experiences that seem like they're on infinite repeat anytime I get involved with a woman. And that's in the best case scenario. But in reality, it tends to get worse as I go. And Love says, the guy I work for this last week asked me what kind of woman I wanted. I told him one as far away from me as possible. He kept trying to bring up the Disney fantasy of you just haven't found the right one. The thing is the odds of you finding quote unquote the right one are so fucking slim that your resources would be better utilized playing the lottery professionally. And Monk Music says, go your own way. If you want to be bitter, then be bitter. Well, the thing is Monk, with me, I try not to be bitter so that way I can stay as impartial as possible and at least be somewhat fair. Because if I let my bitterness consume me, I will never, ever be able to be fair in a conversation ever again. Because if I was to let my bitterness consume me, I would actually become a misogynist. I would actually become what these people claim me to be. And I don't want to give them the satisfaction of it. So that's the reason why I don't let my bitterness consume me. Because I do want to remain fair with people that I interact with on a daily basis, with even a stranger on the street. I want to be fair. I want to be even handed with my criticisms. That's the reason why I'm not afraid to call out anyone on fucking up. And if someone notices that like I'm vastly uninformed on something, or if I'm going off of some wrong information and they bring up some information counter to it, I take it into account. If I was bitter, then I wouldn't even look at that. That's one of the issues that a lot of people nowadays have with feminists. Feminists tend to be bitter. That is part of that stereotype. And it's there for a good reason. But the thing is advice given for the wrong reason, to meet the wrong ends, isn't good advice, even if it might sound like sound advice. Like the statement itself, don't be bitter, can be sound advice. Like I do say that to MGTOW content producers. I say that to MGTOWs. Don't allow yourself to be eaten alive by how bitter you've become. Yes, keep those things in mind. By all means, yes. The best teacher in life is life itself. Your experiences should teach you. And yes, at some points, you're going to get bitter when you see the same bullshit happen over and over and over again. And then you hear of others who have that same exact bullshit happening to them over and over and over again. Yes, you stand a high chance of becoming bitter. You have a high chance of becoming jaded. You have a exceedingly high chance of becoming partial in everything that you do. But with how they're saying don't be bitter here, they're saying don't learn from the past, keep doing the same stupid thing. Maybe something better will come your way. So keep doing it until something better comes your way. Something that's bearable, something that you can settle for. And Monk Music says if you disengage for a while, the bitterness will pass. But if you're locked into repressing it, then you'll never heal. That is very true. But also at the same time, I want the wound to heal correctly. I don't want the wound to heal incorrectly and then me have that scar that I have to deal with through the rest of my life. Because then that's just a constant reminder that the problem is still there. But the thing is I actually typically have two different things going on in my head at any time. I have the part that comes out, which is me trying to be respectful, me trying to see it from the other person's point of view. But then there's the other part of me that I keep internal, which is just yelling, this is absolute bullshit. You're a fucking goddamn liar. You're a worthless pile of fucking shit. I've got that aspect to me. And that does affect, and both affects, they affect each other at that point. But it's not me so much censoring myself. It's me sitting there and saying, look, I have my own bias, which I understand I do. I'm biased against everyone that is not me. Okay? Just like any one of you is inherently biased against someone who is not you. It happens. It's kind of human nature, you know? Hell, it's not just human nature. That's with animals, everything. If you're alive, you have some bias in your own favor, in your own mind. That is a thing. But when you allow yourself to be consumed by bitterness, then that bias becomes you. It becomes your life. It becomes your way of thinking. But I just want to go ahead and let you know a little bit of bitterness is natural. It is. Just don't let yourself get consumed by it. All right, guys? That's all I'm saying. Be honest with yourself. You know? If you're bitter about something, yeah, you might have every reason in the world to be bitter. Just don't let yourself get consumed by it. Learn your lessons from it, to be sure. Just don't be consumed. Don't obsess over it. Don't go out of your way looking for a way to inflict that bitterness on the rest of the world. But the thing is if someone's sitting there and telling you not to be bitter, when you've told them your reasons for being bitter, why you're soured on the situation, tell them to go fuck themselves. Because at that point, that person does not have your best interest at heart. They don't want you to learn from your lived experiences. They want you to listen and fucking believe. They want you to stop using your critical thinking skills. And a lot of people find that to be exceedingly difficult. Because the thing is it's easy to sit there and think of it of, some random motherfucker on the street walking up and telling you that you're bitter, you're full of hate, and you should stop being bitter and that sort of thing. It's really easy to imagine that. Where our mind doesn't go is when your family does it, or a dear friend, or what you thought was a dear friend, someone that you've known most of your life, someone who's been there with you through the thick and thin of it, then telling you not to. That is the type of person that it's difficult to stand up to. If you can agree to disagree, then awesome. Because if they've been your friend for that long, it's probably for a reason. But if they're going to constantly harp on you and make it impossible for you to not be bitter because they keep bringing it up, they keep reopening that wound, then maybe they're not the best person for you to be around. But that is where you have to draw the line. That's where you have to sit there and say, is this worth it? Is me sitting there and having someone lie straight to my face telling me that I have no reason to be bitter when I am able to list reason after reason after reason for me to be bitter? Is it worth wasting the energy on this person? Is it worth me wasting my precious limited time on this planet on this person? Because contrary to popular belief, there's actually a lot of people out there, once you explain why you are the way you are, they'll sit there and go, oh, yeah, can't blame you. I wish you weren't bitter about it, but I understand. That is very different from someone telling you you have no reason to be bitter or telling you just to not be bitter. There's a big fucking difference. Because someone wishing that you weren't bitter is perfectly fine. Because in most cases, What they're saying there is, I wish you hadn't had those bad experiences, which is fine. But someone telling you not to be bitter is telling you that you should ignore your experiences and you should keep doing the same stupid thing. It would be like the same as a parent sitting there watching their kids burn their hand on the stove and then going ahead, and when their kid gets afraid of putting their hand on the stove, then starts taking their kid's hand and forcibly putting it back on the stove. It's not a healthy relationship. It's not a healthy mindset. But I want to go ahead and end this off with this sentiment. If you've had a bunch of bad experiences in dating, in relationships, or if you're just looking at other people's experiences, listening to the horror stories, yes, you have a reason to be bitter. Just don't let yourself get consumed by it. Use it as a tool to learn from, but do your damnedest to not let it completely cloud your judgment. Do your best to not let that bitterness close doors to you. I'm not saying go out and date. I can't suggest that. With my experiences that I've had, I cannot recommend people going out and dating or cohabitating or anything of the like. I can't. But what I can do is say, keep your eyes open for good opportunities in life. You're not really living life if you lock yourself away from the entirety of the world in perpetuity. You cannot live life to its fullest by completely separating yourself from everyone and everything else out there. Give yourself the chance to live your life, but learn how to make better decisions while living your life. You can learn from the experiences of other people, but the best experiences, the ones that you can trust the most, are the ones that you have had yourself. So if you're not going out there and getting experiences in life, then you are denying yourself the best teacher that the world has to offer. On that, I'm going to go ahead and end. Thank you all for coming and listening. I appreciate the support as always. Um, I'm also going to let you know if you're one of those people that's planning on stopping supporting YouTube by viewing it or whatever, whatnot. I actually have a link to my BitChute account down in the description. So you can go ahead, you can subscribe there on BitChute. Um, I always, I mean, it obviously first uploads here and my live streams are done here on YouTube, but they do upload to BitChute automatically. So thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. For those who aren't in the Discord, the invite is still open. Again, link down in the description. Have yourselves a great day. Talk to y'all later. Peace.